Okay guys, so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk you through some of the harder calculations in chemistry. There's a lot of things to think about, there's a lot of things to keep in your mind. Now the other thing is, I also want to make sure you do as much working as I do. Do not scrimp in the working because the markers are looking for working. Now I'm going to change the order of the questions that are different than the ones on your paper, mainly so that you can get a clear concept in your mind of what's going on. So, looking at the first question, question 6 says, given the equation, how many moles of CO2 are produced if 1.76 moles of H2O are produced? So what this means is, first thing we're going to do is we're going to figure out how many number of moles of CO2 there are produced. We don't know this, okay, so that's what we're aiming to do. We're also going to, or what we've been told already, is we already know number of moles of H2O, and that equates to 1.76 moles. Now remember in class we said that if we're trying to actually compare how many moles of something we have to look at the ratio of the coefficients at the top. Now if I have a look at this at the top, I have 1 mole over here, 4 moles over here, 3 moles over here, and 3 moles over here. Okay? Now, I don't actually have to care what the molar ratio of my reagents are because my question's asking for number of moles of carbon dioxide and number of moles of water. Okay? Now, when I look at this equation from the equation, I know that number of moles of CO2 is equal to 3, 2, and now this ratio, if I compare it, is number of moles of H2O is equal to 3. Now, this means that this is a 1:1 ratio. Well, that's awesome, except, going back to my question, I didn't actually start with 1 mole of H2O. I started with 1.76 moles of H2O. Now what this means for me, if I'm comparing my ratios, the 1:1 ratio, for every 1 mole of carbon dioxide, I will have 1 mole of water produced, but because I started off with 1.6 moles of water, it means I should have 1.6 moles of carbon dioxide. So therefore, number of moles of CO2 equals 1.76 moles. That's my answer.